Good morning. Obviously, that song is "You Are the Sunshine of My Life," and I will always be around by Stevie Wonder. I am James Henninger Voss, your lay liturgist this morning, and I share leadership today with the Reverend Dr. Kathy Ellis. We welcome you this morning to the Unitarian Church of Harrisburg and into the transformative power of religious community. Whoever you are, wherever you live, whomever you love, whatever you do as a hobby or for a living, you are welcome at the Unitarian Church of Harrisburg. We invite you to join us for coffee, of course, following the service, and either upstairs or on Zoom. And online or in person, we are very glad that you are here.
Will you rise in body and spirit and join in our opening hymn, Morning Has Come. 1,000 in the teal hymnal will be up there, I think. Chalice Light this morning, written by my colleague, Peter Friedrichs, who is a father and now also a grandfather. So from Peter's perspective. For sleepless nights awaiting curfew breakers, for anxious hours as a driving instructor, for hours spent on sidelines cheering and watching school plays, sometimes resting our eyes, for the pressures of breadwinning and wait till your father gets home, for teaching moments and mentoring moments, for making up answers when you really just don't know, but are expected because you're supposed to know everything, also how to fix everything, for scrapes and boo-boo kisses and Band-Aids, for hugs and kisses and silliness and play, for bedtime, stories, and early morning ice time. I don't know what early morning ice time is, but Peter does. For all the aftershave and ties received as gifts, for handing over car keys and waves goodbye, for father-daughter wedding dances, and cradling grandchildren for the first time, for all the moments and meaning in the role of a lifetime, we light our chalice for fathers and fatherhood. Or we try. Anyway, James, you have the song to sing now, so.
Give me just a minute more, so I can tell you how much you mean to me before I let you go. Give me just a minute more, so I can look deep into your eyes and tell you how I feel. I know things will change, nothing stays the same, and you should know deep inside the way I truly feel. Give me just a minute more, so I can hold you warmly in my arms, like so many times before. Give me just a minute more. I put a smile on, time to say goodbye. I hope it's not for long. I know things will change, nothing stays the same, and you know deep inside the way I truly feel. Give me just a minute more.
And this is why I do not wear mascara. So, good morning. My name is Corey, and I serve as your Director of Lifespan Faith Development. Today's story is titled "And Tango Makes Three" by Justin Richards and Peter Parnov. It's a best-selling book. It's a heartwarming, true story of two penguins who create a non-traditional family. In our Unitarian Universalist community, we feel everyone should be loved and treated fairly, and that there are all kinds of animal families. I'm curious, how many people are familiar with this story? I just want to point out that yesterday my husband and I, we drove down to Alexandria, where my one daughter lives, and then my other daughter visited. And she asked, so what story are you reading tomorrow? And I told her, And Tango Makes Three. And she said, it's one of my favorite books. I said, why? And she said, the first time I attended General Assembly, I received that book free. So. But she loves the story. I mean, it was a fond memory, but she reads it to her kids that she teaches down in Manassas every year. So let's begin our story. In the middle of New York City, there is a great big park called Central Park, and it has its very own zoo. Every day, families of all kinds go to visit the animals that live there. But children and their parents aren't the only families at the zoo. The animals make families of their own. There are panda bear families. There are monkey dads and monkey moms raising monkey babies. And in the penguin house, there are penguin families. Every year at the same time, the girl penguins start noticing the boy penguins, and the boy penguins start noticing the girls. Once a right match is formed, they become a couple. Two penguins in the penguin house were a little bit different. One was named Roy, and the other one was Silo. Both were boys, and they did everything together. Roy and Silo watched how the other penguins made a home, so they built a nest of stones for themselves. But one day, Roy and Silo saw that the other couples could do something that they could not. The mama penguin would lay an egg. She and Papa penguin would take turns keeping the egg warm until finally it would hatch. And then there would be a baby penguin. Roy and Silo had no egg to sit on and keep him warm. There was no baby chick to feed and cuddle and love. The nest was nice, but it was a little empty. One day, Roy found some. I'm sorry. Oh, that's what dads do. Yes, of course. Well, one day, Roy found something that looked like what the other penguins were hatching, and he brought it to the nest. Silo carefully sat on it, and sat on it, and sat on it, but nothing happened. It was only a rock. Mr. Gramsey, the zookeeper, had an idea. He found an egg that needed to be cared for, and he brought it to Roy and Silo's nest. Roy and Silo, because they were watching, knew exactly what to do. They moved the egg to the center of their nest. Every day they turned it so each side stayed warm. They took turns sitting on the egg and taking care of it. Until one day they heard a sound coming from inside their egg. Peep, 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 it said. Roy and Silo called back, squawk, squawk. Suddenly a tiny hole appeared in the egg's shell. Out came their very own baby. She had fuzzy white feathers and a funny black beak. Roy and Silo decided to name her Tango. Roy and Silo taught Tango how to sing for them when she was hungry. Soon, Tango grew strong enough to leave the nest. Roy and Silo took her for a swim, just like all the other penguin families. And all the children who came to the zoo could see Tango and her two fathers playing in the penguin house with the other penguins. At night, the three penguins returned to their nest, and they all snuggled together. And like all the penguins in the penguin house, and all the other animals in the zoo, and all the families in the big city around them, they went to sleep. And now we will sing our children out to their class.
believe in fathering. I believe in the radical idea that men have the full human capacity to nurture. Hair bows and baseballs, cooking and creativity, tools and tiaras, camping and dancing, snuggles and shrieks of delight. Too many fathers don't believe in their own fathering. Too many are scarred by their own fathers to hear their own heart say otherwise. Too many have known fathers who, faced with a quivering lip and tears, could only say, "Man up." Too many have known fathers who knew only hitting and yelling. Too many have known fathers who lost sight of their sacred role of protector and became tormentor. But I believe in fathering. When a human gestates and gives birth, their brain changes permanently. A father's brain changes too. Changes as he rocks his baby to sleep, delights in baby games, and soothes bumps and bruises. A father earns his new neurobiology. In a world where too many mothers hand their co-parent directions more specific than they give to the babysitter, where a father out with his kids is asked, "Are you babysitting?" and "Where's mom?" where fathers are the punchline. I believe in fathering. I believe in the radical idea that men have the full human capacity to nurture. Whether their children come through birth, adoption, or fostering, through scouts, sports, Sunday school, or youth group. I've known too many gay dads, too many single fathers, too many men raising children that others couldn't to believe otherwise. I believe we all, especially our children, deserve to know that the human capacity to nurture belongs to every one of us. I believe in fathering.
Did you hear the one about the dyslexic devil worshiper? He sold his soul to Santa. What do you get when you cross a Unitarian with a Jehovah's Witness? Somebody who knocks at your door but doesn't know why. So it's Father's Day. I should probably tell you that my wife and I have decided not to have kids. Charlotte and Eugene are taking it pretty hard. If you can't tell by my sense of humor, I'm a dad, and I believe in fathering. So I love my dad, but I am a different type of dad than my father was. According to Anthony Rotundo, who's a historian of, American fatherhood, by the late 20th century, most middle-class dads had shed the patriarchal, this is an academic, patriarchal formalities of their previous generations, and reportedly the modern expectation of dads like me is, 1, to be entertaining, and 2, to be emotionally close to your children. So again, 1, be entertaining, 2, be emotionally close to your children. There is no 3. Wow. So okay then, how do dads do the hard work of entertaining people between ages 25 days and years 25 and appear to be interested in their emotional well-being without having to actually do too much emotional heavy lifting? Dad jokes. Dad jokes. What did the farmer say when he lost his tractor? Where's my tractor? Why do hens lay eggs? Because if they dropped them, they would break. While most jokes rely on some type of semantic or grammatical ambiguity, the things people tend to call dad jokes are the ones where the ambiguity is crushingly obvious. When does a dad joke become a dad joke? When it becomes apparent. And where do dads store all these dad jokes? Anybody? In a database. We all want to be heroes, or at least to be cool to our kids forever, and there are those two expectations. But seriously, what does it mean to be a good father? Well, a month ago, when approached about this reflection by the Reverend Dr. Kathy Ellis, who, by the way, if you don't know, is a psychologist, and so when she asked me to talk about what a good father is, you know what she wanted, right? She wanted me to talk about my father. And I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. We're not going there. It's not happening. Anyway, well, I'm not telling you. Not happening. I have to pay you money to get that kind of time. Anyway, I realized a month ago I was having a hard time clearly articulating what it meant to actually be a good father. Like, how do you define that? So what I did as a good economist is I surveyed colleagues of various identities, class, gender, race, orientation, and I surveyed family members. And their responses differed in details somewhat. Not everybody hit all four of these elements, but a lot of people hit many of these elements like over and over again, different people. But a general definition of a good father boils down to apparently 4 elements. So together with the other 2, we're now going to have 6 things. Keep these in mind. So 1, a good father, being a good person. 2, helping your children be good people. 3, having a lot of stamina. And 4, forgiving yourself for falling short in each of the previous 3. Sounds so simple, but it's really hard to do, and to do it consistently. For me, I know that at different times and different extents, I have succeeded phenomenally at all these things. And I admit there have been lots of times, far too many, where I have failed at all these 4 things. For example, when I've tried to give my children the benefit of my aged wisdom, such as give a man a plane ticket and he flies for a day, push a man out of an airplane at 3,000 feet and he flies for the rest of his life, or kids, never date a tennis player because love means nothing to them. I get the same kind of reaction from them. Despite groaning and claiming to hate dad jokes, it is my firmly held belief that people secretly like dad jokes. After all, my wife, Mary, a saint, agreed to share my life with me, even though to this day, whenever she says, "I ran into a friend today," I interrupt her and ask, "Did that hurt?" On occasion, I have switched that up with, "It's okay, we're covered." I think everybody likes dad jokes because they create a safe space. They are stupid, accessible, and don't target anybody, except maybe tennis players, and so present company is accepted for Yvonne, who is a phenomenal tennis player. I think everybody likes dad jokes because they create safe spaces. When a dad tells a dad joke, you know that no matter what he says, the joke won't hurt you, and it will be so stunningly obvious that everybody will get it. Since we're in church, please answer this question with me so I don't burn alone. What does a fish say when it hits a wall? Splash. Damn! Did you say splash? Thank you for trying. And the very fact that grade schoolers are still using these jokes teaches us important lessons about life. For example, there are no old dad jokes, there are only old listeners. And the very fact that grade schoolers are still using these jokes, I had that one already, and if grade schoolers can tell a dad joke, then anybody can tell a dad joke. Anybody in this room. Although it does beg the question, if somebody who is not a dad tells a dad joke, is that a faux pas? It's okay to groan. Love is full of both joy and pain, so I like to think that everybody who can get the joke, or the fact that everybody can get the joke, is part of my contribution to everyone's well-being. And scientists back me up. Scientists have done quite a bit of research on this, actually. One study found that shared laughter was uniquely linked to people's overall evaluations of quality, closeness, and social support in their relationships. In other words, it's sharing a laugh, the fact that everybody gets it, not just laughter in general, that benefits relationships most. There was a moment when our children were small, maybe 5 years old. Eugene had hurt his leg pretty badly, and it looked like he was in a lot of pain. We were having a hard time consoling him. So I knelt next to him, holding his leg, and while he was crying unusually hard for Eugene, who, like a good Henninger Voss, is a stoic, quiet person, I said, "Oh, Eugene, I think that looks a lot worse than it is, but it does look like it hurts." Eugene nodded, crying. "It looks like it hurts a lot." Eugene nodded, kept crying. "Does it feel like a bowl of jelly? Does it feel like a bowl full of jelly?" Eugene's breath caught, his eyes focused. He gathered himself and said, "No, it does not feel like a bowl of jelly." The crying quickly changed to laughter as he kept answering a series of questions about lots of stupid things that the injury did not feel like. So that's interpersonal relationships sorted. To sum up, I'm not a great dad, but I try to live up to the expectations that I didn't even realize were expectations, to try to be entertaining and to be emotionally close with my children. I'm not a great dad, but I try to be a good person. I try to help my children be good people. I try to have stamina for this long haul, and I try to forgive myself for my regular failings. And part of what has helped me to be a good father, as good a father as I've been so far, are dad jokes. So please, while groaning over dad jokes, remember to appreciate that while they may be a weird expression of love, they are still acts of love. I actually took time to look up some of these jokes. I mean, that is an act of love. Related to all this, it's important to share that in my life, good fathering has been completely conditioned on good, if not better, mothering. My mother was essential in my upbringing and in making my dad a better father. My wife has been essential in my children's upbringing and in making me a better dad. Although lots of people are single parents, including my brother Tom, who wrote that beautiful song I sang earlier, I struggle to imagine parenting as a single parent, especially because I need a partner to laugh at my jokes. Parenting, not fathering, is really the thing, regardless of gender. We're all just trying to be good people, to raise good children who will be good people, and maybe raise children who will also tell better jokes. And I will just take a moment here to say, I realize that I stand here having been blessed with the privilege of being a white middle-class male. If I had been raised in a much worse off situation, I imagine I would not feel the flexibility of talking about dad jokes for 5 minutes, as opposed to really reflecting on protecting my children. I think protecting your children is part of being a good father, right? So it's in the definitions. But I didn't have to focus on those things because those things I am privileged enough to not have suffered from or to suffer, and my children don't suffer from. So I recognize my privilege. We should take today, the day before Juneteenth, right, and think about that a little bit more, which I won't drag you through. But yesterday, my wife and I went to the Civil War Museum, and we spent a lot of time before the section on enslavement of people, right? I tried to imagine, and it weirded me out this morning to a deep level, if I had been a father of somebody who'd been taken away from me, how much guilt would I have never been able to get rid of, even if it might not been my fault? How much sadness would I have felt if my children had been taken away from me? If I had been taken away from my father? I mean, there is just so much grief in other parts of our society that I can't fathom, right? And that's a blessing, that's a privilege for me to not have those things. And I feel today a lot for those fathers in those situations. So, now that we have addressed the importance of fathering and the value of dad jokes, let me tell you how my next project is progressing. This morning, I ordered a chicken and an egg from Amazon. I'll let you know.
Will you rise in body or in spirit and join in singing We Are?
We're about to read to you a selection of poems. First Lesson by Philip Booth. Lie back, daughter. Let your head be tipped back in the cup of my hand. Gently, I will hold you. Spread your arms wide, lie out on the stream, and look high at the gulls. A dead man's float is face down. You will dive and swim soon enough where this tide water ebbs to the sea. Daughter, believe me, when you tire on your long thrash to your island, lie up and survive. As you float now, where I held you and let go, remember when fear cramps your heart what I told you. Lie gently and wide to the light year stars, lie back, and the sea will hold you.
The Gift by Lee Young Lee. To pull the metal splinter from my palm, my father recited a story in a low voice. I watched his lovely face and not the blade. Before the story ended, he'd removed the iron sliver I thought I'd die from. I can't remember the tale, but I hear his voice still. A well of dark water, a prayer, And I recall his hands, 2 measures of tenderness he laid against my face, the flames of discipline he raised above my head. Had you entered that afternoon, you would have thought you saw a man planting something in the boy's palm. A silver tear, a tiny flame. Had you followed that boy, you would have arrived here, where I bend over my wife's right hand. Look how I shave her thumbnail down so carefully she feels no pain. Watch as I lift the splinter out. I was 7 when my father took my hand like this. And I did not hold that shard between my fingers and think, metal that will bury me, christen it little assassin. And I did not lift up the wound and cry, death visited here. I did what a child does when he's given something to keep. I kissed my father.
Those Winter Sundays by Robert Hayden. Sundays, too, my father got up early and put his clothes on in the blue-black cold. Then, with cracked hands that ached from labor in the weekday weather, made banked fires blaze. No one ever thanked him. I'd wake and hear the cold splintering, breaking. When the rooms were warm, he'd call, and slowly I would rise and dress, fearing the chronic angers of that house. Speaking indifferently to him, who had driven out the cold and polished my shoes as well. What did I know? What did I know of love's austere and lonely offices?
This morning we are remembering and honoring fathers of all sorts, birth, adopted, chosen, and even those who didn't do so well at fathering. I've noticed through the years that Father's Day seems somehow secondary, an afterthought to Mother's Day, which it actually is. Mother's Day is one of the biggest restaurant days of the year, and it's an important holiday for florists, although its origin was as an anti-war commemoration. And anyway, what is Father's Day known for? Barbecues? Last-minute gifts for Dad? Tools for working in the yard or fixing things in the house? Or maybe, as Peter said, a tie and another bottle of aftershave, which maybe he doesn't use but sits on the dresser. Father's Day has a different origin. It was the first known Father's Day celebration was in West Virginia in 1908 to celebrate and commemorate the lives of 210 men who died in a coal mining accident. That celebration was forgotten and not repeated for nearly 70 years. Early attempts to make Father's Day a national recognized holiday were defeated repeatedly by Congress. In 1957, Maine Senator Margaret Chase Smith wrote a proposal accusing Congress of ignoring fathers for 40 years while celebrating and honoring mothers, thus singling out one of our two parents. 9 years later, Lyndon Johnson issued the first presidential proclamation honoring fathers and designating the third Sunday in June as Father's Day. But it didn't become a permanent national holiday until 1972 when President Nixon signed it into law. Begun in grieving and loss, forgotten and resisted for years, Father's Day seems to finally have become and begun just because we already had Mother's Day. What does that mean? What does that say about our relationships with fathers? Maybe nothing. maybe it's just how it happened, but I wonder. Fathers are human beings. Our relationships with them can be complex, confusing, sometimes full of love, sometimes hurtful and abusive, sometimes supporting and caring. Our cultural concepts about fathers are varied, and as James pointed out, changing. But there are still some who believe in the Christian nationalist strong father patriarchy, where the father is in charge of everything. In Roman households, ancient Roman households, the patriarch was so in charge of everyone in the household, that he could kill anyone should he so choose. And there would be nothing wrong with that. This week, a Washington Post opinion column by Elisa Rosenberg was headlined, "This Father Day, Stop Treating Dads as Dopes, Deadbeats, or Icebergs." It does change over time, but I wonder, what are the images we see of fathers on TV shows and commercials now? They used to be deadbeats and lacking in intelligence a few years ago. Now I think we do see some loving, supportive fathers, and probably especially in commercials. I never watched it, but I hear the Succession show, I don't know if any of you saw it, was all about a manipulative, scheming, wealthy father and his children. Now, from Miss Rosenberg, I learned, and I will not share them because I am not a dad, but I learned from her that there is an archive of dad jokes. You can look it up, if you choose, at the National Responsible Fatherhood Clearinghouse. There's lots of them, and none of the ones that I saw were any of the ones that James shared. But Rosenberg wrote that fathers' desire to be present for their children is no laughing matter. She pointed out that our policies make it difficult for fathers to be fully engaged and present with their children. 1/5 of American dads worry that they will lose their jobs if they take all the paternal leave that they are entitled to. Meanwhile, Swedish fathers get nearly 8 months of leave when their baby is born or adopted, and they take it. A survey, which can be found in Laying the Groundwork for a National Strategy to Support Fathers, showed that 80% of American men said they would do whatever it takes to be very involved in their babies' lives. They want to be good fathers in the way, well, I don't know about the jokes part, but in the other ways that James talked about. Another column in the Post this week was written by an elder African-American man who is a father and a grandfather, and his title was, "Good Fathering is About Being Present, and Anyone Can Do It." He wrote, "There is no substitute for being present, for being there when life's hurts enter a child's world, for listening and learning about your children. There is also no substitute for showing them a little love, especially when they least expect it." The important thing is to have a supportive, trusting, and loving relationship with children that takes time and attention. And Colbert King wrote this, "Spare me the gender role debate. LGBTQ plus parents everywhere do the vital work on Father's Day and any other day." Now, when we talk about fathers and mothers, gender does enter the conversation, and that conversation is changing. Fred Rogers was Mr. Rogers, a warm and loving father figure to millions for several generations. He said, "It's not always easy for a father to understand the interests and ways of his son. It seems the songs of our children may be in keys we've never tried. The melody of each generation emerges from all that's gone before. And right now, in this moment, we have trans and non-binary people teaching us, opening up our minds and hearts and showing us new things, showing that love doesn't depend on gender or gender roles. When I heard a trans father, the first time I heard a trans father talking about giving birth to his children, it did, and probably still does, make my old brain spin a little bit. But that's not important. That's really not important. What is important is that he is a loving father to his children. What is important is the love. When James and I talked about this service, I said that I wanted the message of this service to be that fathers are important, that fathers are human. You talked about forgiveness, and I think forgiveness is always important in human relationships. And fathers also definitely deserve to be loved. Here's another quote from Fred Rogers. He said, "I think the young feel pressured by the older generation, but I realize that it isn't the older generation doing the pressuring. Not only. Young people are pressuring older people to change too. And it can make us feel uncomfortable, but it isn't all bad either. I know how much I learned from my parents and teachers, and now I know for sure that I'm learning from my children and the young people I work with. I don't do everything they want me to. I don't understand everything they want me to. And they don't do everything I want them to. But we know deep down that we'd really be impoverished if we didn't have each other. So, let us remember to listen and honor and learn from all the generations in our lives and honor the gifts that we give each other in love and the richness of meaning in life. So let us do our best to love and to honor and maybe forgive. Amen. Ashe. Blessed be. We have some more poems just with different perspectives on fathering, having a father, being a father. Stanley Plumley writes, "Whatever it is, however it comes, it takes time. It can take all night. My father would sit on the edge of the bed and let the tears fall to the floor, the sun the size of the window, full and rising. He was a dead man and he knew it. I think of him every time I fall in love, how the heart is 3/4 high in the body. He could lift his own weight above his head. He could run a furrow straight by hand. I think of him large in his dark house, hard in thought, taking his time. But in fact, he is sitting on the edge of the bed, and it is morning, my mother's arms around him."
No Map by Stephen Dobbin. How close the clouds press this October 1st, and the rain, a gray scarf against the sky. In separate hospitals, my father and a dear friend lie waiting for their respective operations, hours on a table as surgeons crack their chests. They were so brave when I talked to them last as they spoke of the good times we would share in the future. To neither did I say how much I loved them, nor express the extent of my fear. Their bodies are delicate glass boxes at which the world begins to throw stones. Is this the day their long cry will be released? How can I live in this place without them? But today is also my son's birthday. He is 8 and beginning his difficult march. To him, the sky is welcoming, the road straight. Far from my house, he will open his presents, a book, a Swiss Army knife, some music. Where is his manual of instructions? Where is his map showing the dark places and how to escape them?
For my daughter. When I die, choose a star and name it after me. I have not abandoned or forgotten you. You were such a star to me, following you through birth, through childhood, my hand in your hand. When I die, choose a star and name it after me so that I may shine down on you until you join me in darkness and silence together. When I die, choose a star and name it after me. As is our ritual, you are invited to share a joy or a sorrow, perhaps having to do with a father, perhaps not. James will be holding the basket of stones in the back. You can go down the side aisles, up the front, and hold that stone, because you can project the energy of your prayer, your joy, your sorrow. We are made of energy, in part. And then place it in this bowl of water that represents this community holding you, this bowl of water that represents all our feelings. I invite you to do so. milestone for all that is on our hearts and minds. We have joys and sorrows to share. Aaron Cooper is home from the hospital and will have some minor surgery. He's in good spirits and looking forward to seeing everyone when he comes back to Harrisburg. He was in the hospital in Philadelphia. Sorrow for everyone missing their father today, and for all the birth fathers who never know their children by choice. Joy for all the father figures in our lives. Joy for Juneteenth tomorrow. Sorrow growing up for a traumatic relationship with father. Joy for the courage to attend a service like this, even though it kind of feels yucky. Please keep the Rico family in your hearts tomorrow. Jack is having a PFA hearing against his biological father. Thank you for so much that the church has done for this family. With joy and sorrow, from Margie Hartman. Did you want to add to that? No, I said I didn't write that. Oh. Today is my kid sister Joanne's 81st birthday. Happy birthday, Joanne, from Marilyn McHenry. And Deb says, my joy is having been raised by the wisest and most compassionate father, Ed Wright. How nice. Let us have a moment of silent reflection about our fathers, on the complexities of fathers and fathering. Let us remember, honor, and praise fathers who have done the best they could. Let us remember, honor, and praise fathers who have given us both love and life, and sorrow and grief. Let us remember, honor, and praise grandfathers, fathers, and sons who are entrusted with the life and struggles of manhood. Let us remember, honor, and praise fathers in all their human complexity. Thank you for fathers, grandfathers, uncles, elders, and guides. May our fathers and all fathers be blessed, find peace, and know love. So may it be. Amen. Ashe. Will you join in our responsive song, Spirit of Life?
The Unitarian Church of Harrisburg is, as always, a freely gathered church of free people. The church is created, sustained, and supported by you. Each month we share half of our Sunday plate with a local nonprofit organization For this month, the month of June, we are sharing with the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee Emergency Response Fund, which for some reason is not referred to as USCRF. The UUSC responds to unexpected crises and provides vital assistance to people impacted by natural and human-made disasters, but whose access to aid is most limited. UUSC's first step in providing assistance is to send emergency relief funding to groups who are working on the ground near the crisis area. If you wish to contribute online, visit UUCH homepage for options. Your financial support and commitment matter. Please consider giving what you are able. Instrumental music. Pianist today, by the way, is Chris Emke. And we all love JD. These gifts are generously given and gratefully received.
We affirm our mission to encourage, equip, and empower, and we ask that you join in the affirmation of our covenant with one another. And today I think I'd like to ask you to stand as we affirm the covenant, which is going to be on the screen, Arlie? Well, it's in your order of service, and maybe you know it. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and service is our gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And let's join our voices with enthusiasm in answering the call of love. And I hope the slides are right. as our worship service is concluded and we extinguish that chalice, you carry that light with you and go out in the world and answer the call of love and come back and tell us how you did it. Blessed be.